That's right, fellow armchair Imagineers. Greetings. It is Tiki.
And pie my cake.
And for some reason, I don't know. This is weird. It's like a Mandela effect situation. For years and years and years, the greetings for this channel has been greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. And and now I've changed it up for some reason in my head. This is like the second or third time I've done it where I'm like, that's right, fellow armchair Imagineers, greetings. Like that really bothers me that I just randomly started doing that.
Well, what are your feelings on diagonally cut toast? Because I might need to check something here. If you'll scroll.
Diagonally cut toast? Are you just asking me a question to kill time?
Oh, you saw Captain Marvel, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, maybe that reference didn't. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Whatever.
Well, hot
it's a
damn,
reference.
Pie. You know what? Captain Marvel might be the most bland movie to ever gross 150 million in its opening weekend domestically, but The Sorcerer's Apprentice Endgame is the only blockbuster that we care about.
Exactly.
Keyword Endgame, keyword they came up with Endgame before Avengers Endgame was announced, like months before.
We're never gonna let the Russo brothers forget about it, who do watch this podcast every week.
Oh, you know they do. You know, because they just literally have in their YouTube feed anything that comes up with Endgame, and then this pops up, and they're just like, wait a minute, what is this?
You just have a realization of, oh no, we're frauds, we stole this name.
All right, so Pi, I'm going to do a traditional TV show thing, and I'm going to say previously on Sorcerer's Apprentice, but I'm going to do it in like a dramatic Carlton Cuse Bates Motel voice. And when I do that, do you mind giving us a quick recap of the season so far, just to kind of get us into where we are? Like we're kind of like in a weird point in the season right now, where we're like midway through the Gaston brawl. We've got a good kind of team rivalry going on. Do you think you can handle a brief recap?
As long as you don't mind me forgetting everyone's name and specific details, I'm game.
All right. Well, I would do the same thing, Pi, so we're in the same wheelhouse here. All right. Let's do it. Previously on Sorcerer's Apprentice Endgame.
So Maleficent and the villains have stolen Yensid's hat, and with that were able to snap out of existence half of all Imagineering projects in the Sorcerer's Apprentice universe, which is unique from other Imagineering competitions by having a shared universe between seasons. But now, the Imagineers who are left have to stop them, and the villainous villains who are the hosts for this season, Radigan, Randall, and the man in the kabuki mask, who I know has a name, but boy, will I never remember it no matter how hard I try. So with the help of Mr. Incredible, Robin Hood, and Prince Philip, these Imagineers are trying to retrieve the stars from Yensid's hat to undo Maleficent's evil plan. While all this is going on, we're also having the help of Figment, and there's this whole ongoing plot as we fight more and more villains each week with Imagineering stories. We start off the game with Team Warriors, Team Heroes, and Team Warriors, Team Supers, and Team Princess. Not Princess, Princesses. There's been some confusion there once or twice. Probably because I have the singing voice of a Disney prince. La 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 la. But yeah, so we went through very quickly due to some inactive players and villains being judges. It gets pretty harsh. Team Supers was pretty much cut out, and the remaining players, which I think was just Space and Twilight Zone. I could be wrong in remembering differently, were spread out.
I'm pretty sure you're right. I'm pretty sure it was just Space and Twilight.
Yeah, so they were spread out to Team Princess and Team Warriors. And as we've gone throughout the season, the teams have all gotten stronger, with Princess tending to be known for very ambitious projects and presentations, but not always having the most solid communication behind the scenes, though that's something we have grown on a lot over the season. Whereas Team Warriors tend to be a lot more solid and a lot more well done with their ideals, but not always as ambitious in the ideals they have or the presentation, which leads in very well to this round, actually. But now we're in the second of the 3 acts of the competition, Gaston's Bar Brawl, which is a series of small rounds of Imagineering. Each one's 2 to 4 days, smaller projects, with no eliminations until the end of all of it, where everyone's going to the courtroom to face the possibility of elimination or the possibility of going to the final rounds. How's that?
Yeah, well said. Well said.
And also, hello, Pergron, if I'm remembering the name of Behind the Magic correctly, who's been looking forward to hearing about this one more than any of the others, because who doesn't love poop? I'm with you. Poop's fun.
Oh, man. Oh, bathroom humor isn't really my forte, Pi, I've got to admit.
It's fair enough. We'll keep it classy here, though.
You know how much bathroom humor isn't my thing? Way back when Shrek came out in 2001, I was 10 years old. This is going to date myself a little bit, but even as a 10-year-old, I kind of wrinkled my nose at oh God, this movie is half fart jokes. This isn't Disney level sophistication. Even at 10 years old, Pi, I was one of those people who was oh, Monsters Inc. should have won Best Animated Film over this any day of the week. I'm sorry, I don't mean to bring the mood down. I'm just it's not really my thing. So hashtag hippo splatterwall, Pi. Oh boy, are we having that same sort of Okay, he's gone. Okay, anyways, folks. Hashtag hippo splatterwall.
Are we back? Or we ever gone?
You were gone. I don't know if I was gone.
Well, I'm back.
Hello. Okay. So hashtags hippo splatterwall, Pi. How'd that come about?
Oh, let me see. We had a lot of different ideas for this round, a lot of ideals. And I think it came about as some joke Pergron had made, and then I just kind of responded to you know what? A poop-themed bathroom might work as an educational thing in Planet Watch. Then we just kind of all jumped behind it, and Pergron, knowing all the animal facts, and having done a lot of tours at Animal Kingdom, knew that one of their favorite fun facts to tell guests is that when hippos go to the bathroom, they tend to fling it everywhere with the tail, creating splatters on walls. And so he suggested that be a new Instagram photo spot wall. And then just kind of got the ball rolling from there of us having goofy fun with it.
Oh, dear. All right. Well, yeah, you're right, Pi. This round does kind of fundamentally serve the difference between Team Warriors and Team Princes, because Team Princes was just ambitious, goofy, really well presented, and Team Warriors was very it was very by the books, you know what I mean? And I don't say that in a bad way. It's almost kind of what if my favorite bathrooms of all time, the Space Mountain bathrooms in Disneyland, what if those bathrooms were just really well themed instead of just being really comfortable?
Yeah, it's a good idea. Something similar, but I don't think quite as well executed. Of course, it was just a base idea and brainstorming. Was one of the ideas we almost went with, actually. It's a really good one. It's nice and solid, if maybe not the most exciting.
All right, let me get to the screen share there. By the way, I love that Disney Dad has a Prince avatar.
It might be my favorite one.
You know what? I think one of you should have a GIF of the Aladdin trailer where Will Smith Genie is well, I could just make you a prince, and then the prince appears in the background.
Oh, that would be very good. The new trailer, I mean, I'm still not a huge fan of it, but it's definitely winning me over more and more.
I don't hate it.
I love the director. I've liked every movie I've seen of his. I haven't seen King Arthur. I hear that's the weak point, but other than that, I've liked his movies.
Yeah, and I've been. I don't want to turn this into an Aladdin discussion, but I've thought for a long time that Aladdin would make a good live action movie if in the hands of the right director. And honestly, I like what I see with Will Smith more. Like I like that it doesn't feel like an impression of Robin Williams. It definitely feels like Will Smith genie. Like Will Smith has his fingerprints all over the role in the same way that Robin Williams did, but it's the Will Smith flavor. You know what I mean? It's not trying to be a carbon copy of what Robin Williams did, and I appreciate that.
Yes, like I'm not huge on the visuals, and I mean we don't want to talk about this too long. I'm not huge on the visuals of it, but I think the performance is probably gonna be pretty good. And also, hello, Twilight Zone.
Hey there, Twilight. What if Nick Cage was the genie?
What if Nick Cage was Aladdin?
What are you telling me, Jafar? All I need to do is go in there and get the lamp, and then you'll change my entire life. Right. Anyways, I can show you the world.
It would be the best movie ever made. I think we can all agree to that.
Don't you dare close your eyes. Oh God. Anyways, enough of that. Team Warriors, Professor Pierre's Pleasant Privies. I like that name. It rolls off the tongue.
Indeed.
So once again, something in the microverse. I like that this has kind of become a running theme in the end game of it all.
Yeah. And that's right, Program. We did get Nick Cage in the podcast. We got connections. But yeah, I like the connections, and I like the blending of real world rumors and projects with Sorcerers Apprentice projects with the map that we have here too. It's a lot of good ideas at play with blending it with real universe, fake universe, all of it.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about the whole idea of like, you know, the restrooms almost being like a showcase unto themselves. Like, hey, here's the bathrooms. You know, they're just a big old attraction. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I get what they're going for, but I feel like there should be a little bit more subtlety to it.
I can see both sides of the argument. I'm honestly not fully sure where I stand on it. Which, real quick, Twilight Zone just says that Professor Pure was something they came up with, but they're not sure where Pleasant Privy came from. But whoever came up with all of that, I like the alliteration. Well done. But yeah, the bathroom just kind of off by itself in the plaza. I feel like it would have worked better connected to like interventions or the play pavilion or something like that.
To me, there's two types of like really well-designed bathrooms. There's the super well-themed one, which would be, you know, obviously like the tangled restrooms. I would equate like the Disneyland equivalent, though not nearly as ambitious, is the Alice in Wonderland bathrooms over by the Matterhorn. And then there's also just the tucked away ones that are really nice. Like I said, Space Mountain is a good example of that, where it's just kind of like a left turn off of the Space Mountain exit, but it's just you walk in there and it's like, oh my God, there's like it's all nice and air freshened and there's so many walls and I can really have privacy. Awesome.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, everyone knows what I'm doing when I'm walking in here. It's kind of like a Las Vegas style neon sign.
Oh yeah. Let's say bathrooms behind Imagination in Epcot. Partly because no one goes to the Imagination Pavilion. I do really like the detail about talking about how like the glass design of it and how that ties it visually to Imagination and the land. That
Sure.
really made it feel more connected, a bit less just out on its own to me.
What do you think of this guy?
I think he would probably terrify me. It's like maybe slightly too, maybe it's like the perspective on the photo, but he's like slightly too high up, where I feel like I'd be able to make eye contact with him while I was on the toilet. In theory, I really like the idea, but I see that picture, I'm like, yeah, I can't use this restroom now. But I do think it's just like the perspective of the photo, not how it would actually be.
You know
So
what it
this is
should
mostly
be? It
joking.
should be like, I think it should be like as you're walking in, like in between the women and the men's bathrooms. You know, he should just be there, like guiding the way. But I think having it be in the actual bathroom, I don't even know if that's legal.
I mean, it's not an actual robot, so I'm sure it'll be okay. Probably someone was saying he she wanted to do little bird-sized robots that could pump soap or something. I would have personally liked that more, though I love the Horizons bathroom attendant. With the big robot originally was going to go outside. I would have personally liked that more. Not that this is bad.
It's not bad, but I just, like I said, it's just there's something a little just a little off-putting about it.
Or maybe if it was just kind of like standing to the side like a bathroom attendant by the entrance, but not like giant over the
Like you
sinks.
said, Pi, I really do think it's probably a perspective thing because as it stands, it looks like this guy's like in his own little like balcony, like literally overlooking the stalls.
Yeah. Which, I mean, perspective is very tough, and I like how, like, this is a really well done picture. Like, especially, like, the way the stalls and all are nice and level, and you can tell where everything is. And I know from trying to do it myself, that drawing sinks are surprisingly difficult to get look right. But, like, I feel like maybe a layout map besides this picture showing where he actually is in relation to things would have helped a lot.
Sure, sure. All right. I thought this was very professionally done.
It really was.
Unfortunately, I feel like this is a kind of a missed opportunity to have like where the robot would be.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
other than that,
yeah. You know, I didn't notice that till you said that. That yeah, the robot's not on this picture.
uh-huh.
I also noticed myself, and this is probably just like because it was like a quickly done thing as a vague example, not meant to be like an exact blueprint, that there's no handicap stall.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But it does look like it is a very good blueprint for just like giving you a rough vantage of the outline. It just would have been nice to see a bit more since there was more to this project on it.
Also, maybe 4 stalls in the men's room is not quite enough.
Yeah, maybe it's a good like give you just a vague view of the layout, but it definitely could have possibly been a bit more in the realism on the blueprint map.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty.
I do like the very like oval like shape of it. Like I know that's a small detail, but the way the whole map
I
is
don't think it's a
shaped,
small detail at all. I think it's a very unique layout, actually.
yeah, like it looks very Epcot-y.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's hard to put into words exactly why, but I don't know. It just
Yeah.
has a distinct feel to it, and this kind of, like Epcot is like, it does things that we're familiar with, but it does them in its own kind of personally branded way. So there you go. I guess mission accomplished with that side of the project.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that's it. Does anyone in the chat have anything else to say about this one?
Twilight Zone was mentioning that they did some of the drawings with the gray drawing did as an example of color. I think she means this map. Oh, try to copy Space's concept as best as possible. His drawing was curved. Yeah, you did a great job with it. Well, like I said, it's not like good as like an exact blueprint, it definitely gets the feeling of what you're trying to get across. It gets that across.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm harping on the robot not because it's a bad piece of concept art, because it is a good piece of concept art. I'm just kind of like making sort of light of like, oh, it's kind of creepy that a robot is in the bathroom with you.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the quality of the concept art in itself. All right, I think with that in mind, let's move on to the next project. Is it still down here? Am I missing it? There we go. All right. Oh God, freaking Philip. Philip's looking good sporting those ears, man.
Well, once I made the ears, I figured I'm going to use them wherever I can.
They're gonna be like the hidden Mickey of the season.
Yeah, well, like if I'm in the finals, my final project is going to have just every person wearing those ears that I can put them on.
All right. So why don't you tell us how this came about? I mean, I know you kind of got into it briefly, but give us a brief rundown as I pull up the website.
Well, our team worked really well together this round. There was a lot of communication and brainstormings and all kinds of different, like a lot of talking activity this round, which was really nice to see. And it just kind of came about as Program was super into the animals and talked about that aspects, and we were able to tie that into Planet Watch, which we were trying to think of a place where we could do a restroom that could enhance the locations going in. So, like how much the Tangled restroom project did so much to help that area, and Planet Watch could use some help, and it just kind of all came together that way. And we may have went a bit too far looking back in some areas, but once we got the ball rolling, it was just kind of, we had more fun than we probably should have, and just probably went too far. Like Twilight Zone is just saying that the ears were okay, but a lot of the merch maybe went a bit too far. Yeah, they probably did. No offense taken. Don't worry, but it was fun. And this whole, and Pilgrim saying that this project was baby and I love it and I will die for it. Possibly a bit extreme, but I like where your heart is at. Yeah, a lot of the writing was Pilgrim.
I'm not sure if it's my I'm not sure if it's my browser or what, but unfortunately the layering on this website is a bit off, so I didn't get a chance to really properly read it. Like, you see how the speech bubbles are kind of layered over each other?
Oh, it's because you have to do present on this one, because it does with like animations and things popping in and out. It almost plays like animated video.
Oh, really?
Where you just have to kind of like hit next every once in a while to get to go to the next part of it.
Damn. Okay, then I feel like I'm a little bit behind.
It's understandable.
Because I okay, you want me to try and screen share it right now, just so the audience gets a flavor for it?
If you think you can, that would be cool. Though I know with all the animations, it
Let's
does tend
see
to
what
be a bit
happens.
slow.
Oh God, what happens when I? All right.
And I'm seeing on a YouTube feed going in and out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if this is gonna work. Huh. Oh boy. Okay, you know what? Oh yeah. Oh God, this is gonna crash my computer. Okay, abort that. All right.
Live streaming takes a lot out of computers and Wi-Fi, so I can understand why it might not be running while you do that.
Yeah, though, Peregrine, I really want to apologize because I really should have thought of that or looked into that a little bit more. I feel like I'm a little bit behind the curve on that. Oh God. Oh God. Okay, can you see that?
Right now on the YouTube feed, I can see it on the Hangouts. It hasn't made its way to YouTube yet.
Okay.
But
Well,
there we
to
go. Now it's here. But
okay, and then what do I do?
you just go left or right with the arrow keys and like hit once, and then something will pop up and do something, and then you hit it again, and more stuff will come. But yeah, Pergron did a lot of the writing and direction on this, and then Evil Gidget took a lot of what Pergron had to write in his outlines, and Evil Gidget wrote that into some of the exact wordings. And Outbound was huge on the presentation, getting it all together and adding some of the extra comedy and jokes in this, like the investors meetings and things like that. And then I did a lot of the merchandise. And Fire Mountain and Disney Dad didn't have as much time to walk, so they kind of did smaller roles here, but they also helped with like art and writing and things like that. So yeah, everyone had like a completely different thing they were doing pretty much, and yeah, it all came together.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry about not being able to do the website. I do think that just on the surface, just glancing through it and seeing how layered it is and everything, just on the surface level, it's really impressive.
It's definitely something. If anyone hasn't read it, or when you get a chance to, when you're not live
Yeah,
streaming,
yeah.
Outbound did a great job making it feel so alive and fun with it that I definitely recommend going through and reading it. And yeah, it just really worked together with a lot of ideas, even if we may have gone too far. But you know how it is when you have a group who are all excited about something, building off of each other.
All right, well, let's get into the really probably the thing that this project's going to be remembered for. Oh, God.
It's easily the most controversial part of the project, if nothing else.
Right, right. Oh, boy. What my favorite part of it is how tied into the rest of the season it is. Like, we got Radigan pose. I like that Radigan's in scale. That was a nice touch.
Yeah, it's and yeah, Carlson was just saying that the slides were neat, and that even though they've worked on a lot of slides, they have no idea how it was done. I have no idea how that was done. I didn't even know you could do most of that stuff in slides. I've done some simple stuff like that in PowerPoint before, but that's impressive. But yeah,
Yeah,
I made sure that all of
there's a
Team
lot of
Princess and the three judges.
yeah, sorry. It just goes to show that there's a lot of different ways to present a project nowadays. It's just gone so far beyond just simple text and pictures.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. The splatter thing is just
I can see it being a bit much.
I don't necessarily I'm kind of in the realm of I mean, yeah, it's a bit much. It probably wouldn't happen in real life, but I do like that it's included in the project because it is a great kind of like meta take on Instagram culture and how that's sort of taking over Disney parks.
And they do talk about that on the safari, like at least half the drivers do.
Right, right. All right. All right, I think that's about it. Meet me at the hippo wall. Oh God. Oh no. Okay, the hippo frappuccino. I think that's a little too far.
Yeah, that probably was a bit too far.
Have to
But
draw the line somewhere. Have to draw the line somewhere.
I was trying to think of what basic white girls would like besides Instagram walls.
Okay, so in the end, you guys won, right?
Yeah, we did come out ahead. I think it was tighter than I think it was a very close round, with one being a safer project, whereas one is a project that went a bit too far in some areas. The Frappuccino, I'm agreeing with Twilight Zone. It's the one part where I maybe went a bit too far. But I think we did pull this one off.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has a lot more. The Team Warriors project was very is very rudimentary. You know what I mean? It did what it needed to do. It pulled it off. It had some good concept drawings, but I don't think anything in there went above and beyond the same way you guys did, both in terms of the animation of the slides and just doing the parody with the parody of the Instagram culture. I just thought it flowed together as a project a lot more. Not to give any disrespect to Team Warriors, I just think that this is really sort of indicative of how evenly balanced the teams have been so far.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty, so with that in mind, let's move on to
Which Pugron is
favorite.
making sure it's noted in the comments that for people who haven't read the whole thing, that there is a lot of facts and educational aspects to the project too, but with a lot of that being in the slides, tougher to show in the podcast.
Mhm.
But there is that side of it too, not just poop jokes.
No,
Poop
I
jokes just tend to
appreciate
be
that.
more
I appreciate
noticeable.
that, and I do think it kind of fits into the animal kingdom philosophy inside of things. And honestly, I think it's a little bit more realistic than having a rug in the bathroom. Not necessarily. All right. Always one of my favorite stanzas or favorite prompts. I love flat ride prompts. I love seeing what people can do with a basic premise to really plus it up.
They're a lot of fun. I unfortunately was really busy when this stanza was going on, so I didn't really get to participate much in it. But these are always really fun projects for me.
But at the end of the day, this is a situation where I feel like if this podcast is going to teach us anything, it's that Team Warriors and Team Princes are really evenly matched because I honestly think, in terms of concept for the actual flat ride itself, no offense, but I think Team Warriors kind of blew you out of the water.
They're like I love the concept that we went with Princes, but it's also the Springs project and the execution of it. They did a fantastic job.
Here's my thing. I feel like you guys rely too much on the whole, like, hey, it's a new plaza coming to the park, and I wasn't really impressed with the actual ride. The actual ride is just teacups with candy skulls. It's kind of bare bones, pun intended. But uh but I thought that the Team Warriors project really did illuminate exactly what I like in these types of projects, which is to take sort of a core fundamental of a ride that already exists and really plus it up. And not to mention, like you said, I really do love the idea of having a very classy, very elegant, very kind of like old timey boardwalk feeling flat ride in the middle of Disney Springs.
Oh yeah. Which there's some reasons why our ride turned out as simple as it did, and some other ideas we had before that I'll get to when we start talking about Team Princes. That Pugron's mentioning in the chat now that the other team had the whole time, whereas pretty much 90% of what we did was done in the last 15 hours.
Oh, that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. I noticed there was kind of a big gap between the number of pages you guys had with the brainstorming.
Yeah.
All right. Just scrolling down, Team Warriors, Exposition Downs. Right away, I just love that title. I just, like I said, I think it's so classy. Classy is the word I would use to describe this project.
It really does. It fits Springs so well
Mm.
with the more classy but still kind of whimsical vibe.
Does Springs have a carousel, or did I just imagine that during during like a sleep deprived, exhaustive, half hallucinated trip there?
I can't say with 100% certainty that it's a carousel, but I believe there's a carousel. Yeah, Twilight is saying there is one, and a small train thing, but they're very small and like kid focused, and they're
Uh-huh.
right by Once Upon a Toy and the far like east side of all of this. So it'll be very far away with a different audience in mind. It's more like the kind of carousel you'd find within like a mall.
No, yeah, I just, oh man, I've had I just vividly remember one day walking through Disney Springs and I was so tired, and that's when I saw the carousel. So I was like, did I imagine that? Was that like a statue of a carousel? Was it an actual carousel?
Can't say for certain if I've ever seen anyone ride it, but it is an actual carousel.
All right. Speaking of carousels, this does kind of take the concept of the steeplechase, which I so badly want for Knott's Berry Farms. You don't even know.
Understandable.
I think they can make an excellent because there's a new style of steeplechase ride. I believe it's made by like Premiere or something like that. Anyone in the comments know what I'm talking about? And it's kind of like a next generation steeplechase. And I think random tangent here, that at least two people watching will appreciate, D. Hindley and Nate. I think that you could bring back the steeplechase coaster, but have it kind of themed around the Wacky Soapbox Racers, which is a really big legacy ride at Knott's Berry Farm, like historically speaking. Anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent here. All right.
What would the podcast be without tangents?
I will admit the balloon fight was something the balloon flight, I'm sorry, was something I did kind of want to do when I was there.
I hear it's very good as long as you don't mind kind of pricey for what the experience is.
That's the thing that kind of made me not want to do it, because I was like, really, that much for 20 minutes?
Yeah. But I do think it was smart putting the Expedition Downs right by it.
Then again, I did pay $40 for the Star Wars VR, and that I felt was worth it. So, and that went on for about 20 minutes. So I don't.
I want to do the VR one time, and I'm with Pugron that the balloon is terrifying.
But that's the thing. I get off on that because I am a thrill seeker. I feel like, yes, I would be scared, but it'd be a nice adrenaline rush.
Fair enough. I will leave that to you, and I'm going to stay safely on the ground.
You go to the NBA experience.
But Pugron also said that still no tangent on Serenity. So is this really a podcast for the series? So you got to give us a Serenity quote right now.
Oh, God. How many years, Jack? How many years have I been on this island, Jack? There you go. There you go.
There we go. In Pugron, I would do the exact same thing of letting my family do it without me. I'm not doing that one. Back to Exposition Downs. I really love this location of it, which I realize might be a small thing. There's such a well-picked area for it because it's the next area to get the refresh. It could best use the transition of something like this. Mm-hmm. That area is kind of big and open and right on the water. That was perfect. As someone who knows Springs pretty well.
Building, is there?
What?
There's still nothing in that Cirque building, right?
I don't think there is at the moment.
They need to get on that.
Yeah, they do. I know that like behind the scenes things are being worked on, but
I can practically guarantee you that if there was a Cirque show in that building, that my grandma and I would carve out a night for it.
Yeah, I heard it was really good with the one they used to have.
Hell, that's almost something that I would consider doing, like, even like during my hypothetical Universal Orlando trip, even if I wasn't to Disney World, besides that. Anyways.
And one last note on location, Twilight Zone was saying that they were debating on having it be here or getting rid of the tiny train station and the carousel, or just the tiny train thing, to put this by the carousel over in that area. And I think you made the right choice because of the similarities of this to a carousel, having it on the other side of the park, especially where I could use something like this to help draw people over. I think you made the right decision going here.
Not to mention, frankly, that area of the Disney Springs It's not my favorite in terms of how it feels. It feels the most like a shopping district and less special than some of the other areas. Whereas this area, the landing, definitely is one of the more unique areas of Disney Springs.
Yeah, it's
Or I don't even think
the
this is the landing technically, is it?
this would be comfortably in the west side, but also that Starbucks right there next to it is right at the transition.
Okay, gotcha.
Like the hot air balloon is kind of at the connecting
That's
point.
the hot air balloon
I'm
is almost kind of like the midway point in Disney Springs, right?
it's assuming I'm doing my like mental visualizing correct. I'm not like forgetting anything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the area where that train and carousel used to be the place to go there because I had all the more themed stores. Like that's where you could go and find the specialty poo store, tying this back into stanza 8. It's where you could find World of Disney and the big Once Upon a Toy that used to be like 8 rooms. But now it's just kind of leftover stuff that they haven't replaced, and then some
Yeah,
weird
that's what it felt
flashing.
like. All right. Very, very good concept art.
That is. I don't think I saw that on my side. That looks very nice.
Mm-hmm.
I love the colors of it.
Yeah, it's really striking. Now this is definitely one of the flat rides that I would make an attempt to do at Cedar Point. And any trip to Cedar Point is obviously going to be kind of majorly focused in on coasters, but I mean I would go to I would do this at least once.
Yeah, it looks really fun. It it looks like the type of thing that's like unsuspecting fun, where you like might not be realizing it till you like ride it or really look at it closely. And it's like, whoa, I love this.
Mater's Junkyard Jamboree at California Adventure is like my definitive version of that.
Understandable, because I thought the same thing about ASS over in East Coast.
I honestly think Mater's is a better attraction than Ass, just because of just because I feel like the like Alien Swirling Saucers has the light show element at night, but Mater's I just think overall the theming is a little bit better and more immersive with the tractors and the junkyard setting. And I love say what you will about Larry the Cable Guy, his popularity is all but completely diminished in the last few years. But I do love the Larry the Cable Guy songs in the Mater's Junkyard Jamboree. I think it adds a whole new element to that ride.
I'll agree with that. Not that I have as much experience, but I do think that Maida's was
Oh,
better
I've only been on it
overall.
a few times myself because I won't wait more than a couple cycles for it, and usually it has like a 40-minute wait. But
That's
you
a
know, I've
fair point.
been on it a few times.
I do think that if you're there at night, the ass is better to ride. But well, you talk about the initials here. Don't think
Wow,
anything hanky going on. But
better to ride.
Maida's in general, I think, is better.
Yeah, I've only done swirling saucers at night. Actually, have I done it at no, I don't think I ever did do it at night, actually, come to think of it. I walked by it at night, I kind of looked at it at night, but I didn't actually ride it.
Toy Story Land in general, everything there but Mania has to be ridden at night for the best
Toy
experience.
Story Land at night is just freaking fantastic. I mean, just walking through it was fantastic.
The difference between day and night is what I was expecting with Pandora.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Pandora's like, I'm about equally as impressed day or night here. It doesn't have the big plus I was expecting.
Right. I agree.
But back on this project, which has nothing to do with ass, I like the charity tie-in. That was really smart.
Yeah, that was very classy.
It
Right.
makes it feel forgivable to do a charging flat ride, whereas with a lot of things like that they already have in Disney Springs, makes it feels cheap of Disney to have them charge for rides, but tying it to a charity makes it not feel cheap.
Mm. I love this integration of reference photos and like it's very simple. It's very simple, but it just looks really good.
It's one of the best forum post presentations I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I would agree to that. I would agree to that. Just in terms of how it all flows together, it's kind of the perfect length. It's got good concept art, it's got good reference photos. It's pretty solid all around.
Yeah, and Twilight Zone is throwing out that Incredicoaster is the biggest change from daytime to nighttime.
Ooh,
And Perkron is
I didn't
saying,
get a chance to do Incredicoaster at night, but I could imagine.
yeah, it's nice. And
I mean, I've
Perkron saying
obviously done Scream at
Kilimanjaro.
night, so I kind of know what it's like.
Fair enough. It makes the effects that don't walk as well walk a lot better when you don't
Okay,
have the
like
light
the
beating
Jack
in.
stuff.
Yeah, those especially.
Okay, nice.
And Perkron's throwing out Kilimanjaro Safaris, Thunder Mountain, and Everest. And I'll agree with those. Except for one like a few years ago, they updated the lighting on Thunder Mountain. Now they use like LEDs and like purplish, and it's way too harsh. And I don't like how it looks at night anymore. But that could just be me.
World or Disneyland? Disney World, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Yeah, Disney World. I feel like Disneyland. I feel like Thunder Mountain's always had perfect lighting.
we used to,
I
and
love the
maybe it's been
I
adjusted
like the
more. But
color of Disneyland's a little bit more. It's a little bit more whimsical. You know, it's almost kind of like American cheese orange.
which makes sense since the Thunder Mountain over there is a bit plainer and more washed out in general. That night, the color works better on it.
That's what I'm
Whereas in
saying.
Florida,
Yeah, at night the color really pops.
yeah, in Florida we already have it being orange, so shining the purplish lights on it, it, in my opinion at least, kind of clashes.
Okay, now that we're talking about Thunder Mountain, can I just get into a little tangent here?
Of course, why not?
Okay, so like Disney has been really into rock work recently with their projects. Like obviously Cars Land, Pandora, Galaxy's Edge is going to be huge when it comes to rock work, and I can't wait. But Pi, you know what really impressed me? Like just I've done it before, just but on my recent trip, it really kind of solidified. Like, yeah, this is super impressive, and they just really hit a home run with this.
What one?
The new Rivers of America,
Ooh, that was beautiful.
right? And you know what I love about it, and this is why I'm bringing it up because it ties into Thunder Mountain. I love how the storyteller animatronic is up on that cliff, and that cliff just blends in so seamlessly with Thunder Mountain in the background and that in the foreground.
It's beautiful.
It might not be the most impressive rock work in the world, but to me is some of the most impressive placemaking that I've ever seen in a theme park.
It looks like it's been there the whole time.
Exactly. And it's just I just in general I just love the new Rivers of America. I really do. I feel like the ride itself is shorter, but honestly, I don't really consider that a bad thing because I feel like when the ride was a little longer and there was a less to see along the way, it was almost a little boring. Now I feel like it's almost like if it was a C ticket before, I would feel like it's almost a D ticket now because I love of course, the views you get of the rock work, which I'm sure is going to blend in really well with Galaxy's Edge. One of my favorite details is the pillar for the train that's been chewed up by the beavers. I love that.
That one is really nice. I almost didn't notice it, but I rode the riverboat with D. Hindley, and he pointed that one out to me. Like, ha! That's awesome.
That is something that a local would know about. Yeah, that's great. All right.
Which,
Any
one last note on
about,
Rockwalk.
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Twilight Zone is saying that Tomorrowland started the Rockwalk trend. That's their conspiracy, which makes sense because Rockwalk popped up in the future. We go a few more years in the future, and Rockwalk's everywhere. Ties together. I'm with you there.
Twilight, you're talking about the rock work out in front of the Astro Orbiter, I'm assuming. In which case, my God, that must be the worst rock work in theme park history if Thunder Mountain and the Rivers of America is some of the best.
Oh, yep, that is the one. I was going to say, well, no, there's some ugly rock walk in front of Tomorrowland on the East Coast, too. But no, they were referring to the Disneyland one. We
Uh,
forget painted a
the rock work
metallic
in
purple color.
Tomorrowland
That
on the
makes the
East
ones
Coast
on
isn't
Florida
as
look
bad,
nice.
though. I mean, it's not great looking, but at least it's not like super intrusive and out of place.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right.
Back on topic. We have one more project to do, or is there anything else to say about
No,
Exposition Bounds?
I think I've pretty much said my piece on Exposition Downs.
Yeah, it's a
If they don't do a steeplechase at Knott's Berry Farm, that would be a good flat ride to put into Knott's Berry Farm.
yeah. I had never heard this type of flat ride before, but now looking at it, it's like, why is this not more places?
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of a place in Ghost Town it could go. The only place I can think of is maybe the Red Barn. If D. Hindley is watching, maybe he can clarify if that's because I knew they do a haunt maze in there. I'm not sure what else they do in there. Anyways, it'd be like right over between it'd be like right over by Mystery Lodge and the Calico River Rapids, so it'd be a nice kind of transition point between the ghost town and that area. I love knots. I love knots. Anyways. Okay, so Sugar Skull Spin. I gotta tell you, Pi. I like the commercial. I'm not gonna play it just because I don't want to. I don't want to play the music, but the commercial's well done. It's well edited, and and honestly, I think the Google voices do kind of seamlessly integrate into it. It's well done in that regard.
You work a lot better than I expected. That was another
Yeah,
Outbound touch, was the commercial. I
nice,
don't
nice.
forget who had the idea for it, but Outbound was the one who did it. Unless I'm lying, in which case someone tell me. I'm pretty sure that's who it was.
Um, I don't know, Pi. I just think you guys could have gotten more creative with this. I just think the fact that it's literally just teacups with sugar skulls is yeah, it's a little lady. It's a little lazy, man. I don't know. I hate to say that, but
It was how it evolved. Is it started off with a ride system that was being discussed for Sorcerer's Apprentice flat ride that we weren't really having a good place to put it, where it was sort of like a simplified spinning version of teacups, but it bounces as it goes. Almost like, did you ever play those fishing games as a kid where the fish go around and they bounce up and open their mouths and you
yeah,
try and catch them?
yeah.
Basically something like that, except for a bit faster. But then it evolved to wanting to do something with the Mesoamerica area in Ventus and doing it to Coco, and then evolved to trying to think of some kind of way to plus a Dumbo type ride to be themed to the colorful animal spirits who I can't remember the name of. And I probably won't be able to pronounce if I had it in front of me. But then we kind of realized that, oh, wait, we did a plus version of a Dumbo type ride in Novus Harbor back in round like 2. Alabrije, if I'm pronouncing that anywhere near correctly, is the colorful animal spirits. So then it was changed back to being a teacup spinner, but with it being last minute and some Alabrije. I think I got somewhat close. With it being last minute, it just kind of got lost in communication to do the teacups as something different than just teacups. Because there was a lot of issues with communication this round. It's a very much back to like early days of Princes of not everyone talking as much. And it was tied to a lot of us being busy, just happening to be busy over this and not communicating how busy we were and what people can do and what they can't do. And some people are just less excited about the flat ride, so kind of taking a step back, not knowing what to really do with them. And it was just kind of like the morning this was due. I think it was Pergrind just kind of came on and was like, hey guys, this is due tonight, so here's a first draft, everyone finish it. And then we just kind of like, oh crap, yeah, we haven't said anything and it's due tonight. So everyone who was available just kind of pitched in and tied it together. So this was done pretty much concept to what you see here in like 12 hours.
Right.
So we did plan on more than just teacups at some point. It just kind of didn't come together.
But that's the thing. As I said before, I feel like you almost kind of lean a bit too much into the plaza, and that's honestly one of my pet peeves when it comes to this game, is when you have a project and you focus too much on something that wasn't required of in the project prompt.
Yeah, looking back, we definitely did that a bit. Which I think if we had done more with the flat ride like we originally planned, then what we have for the plaza wouldn't be bad.
I mean, making a plaza for a flat ride isn't bad in concept. Like, look what they did with something like the, I mean, this isn't a great example because it's kind of a bottleneck, but the Flying Carpets of Aladdin is sort of a plaza in its own right.
No, you're not allowed to compliment that ride and what it did to Tiki Plaza around me. How about Storybook Circus? That was sort of built around a flat ride.
That's a better example. And for the record, I'm not complimenting it. I'm just saying it's an example. I'm not saying.
I'm teasing. But yeah, the idea of why we went so much with that is a lot of times flat rides, what makes them so great is what they can do to the area they're in. And they almost work great being a part of something. But instead of going with something existing, which is kind of tough to do to visualize on a hypothetical theme park like Inventus, we got caught up on doing a new plaza, which was made worse, as Bergran's saying, because everyone jumped on the plaza stuff because no one really wanted to touch the ride since not a lot of people had a lot of thoughts on it, at least people who are active and available this round.
So I've had an idea for a flat ride that I feel like this would have kind of fit in well to, which is basically, what if you did a teacup ride where the spinning was done on some sort of platform that raised and lowered based on how much spinning you did. So the faster you would spin, the higher you would go, and you would go up, maybe about like 3 to 5 feet.
That'd be really cool. I could see it being tough to implement from like a behind-the-scenes engineer mind standpoint, but it could definitely be done and would be a very neat thing.
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking out loud. I've always kind of envisioned something like that. It'd be kind of like a mix of, obviously it'd be a mix of the teacups and also Dumbo.
Yeah. I've always liked the idea of the bouncing teacup concept, even though we wind up not doing that one. It's an idea I've had for a long time, and I wasn't the one who suggested it. I think Outbound or Fire Mountain? Fire Mountain suggested the bouncing teacups idea. Which,
yeah, I mean, I really do feel like if you guys would have just, because that's the thing, it's like technically the Exposition Downs, that wasn't an original flat ride, but it was a very, very unique flat ride. You don't see very many of them at all. And so I feel like either go in that route, go with something that's unique where it's not really replicated all that much, or like I said, do something where it's kind of a twist on an old favorite, if you will. I mean, hell, I'm sorry, Pi, but I'm gonna go back to Magic Carpets of Aladdin, all right?
There is good about that ride.
The spinning camels is at least something.
And you have the person in the back seat who can tilt the magic carpet if you happen to be lucky and get the one where that actually works.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. I don't think I've ever been on that ride. I might have done it once during after hours, but after hours had been kind of a blur for me the last time I did them.
See, I think the magic carpets are very good, and I think they do evolve the concept a bit. I just don't think they work in that location because it creates the bottleneck and it clashes with the theming that's around it. I think that's why it gets so much hate. I like how they do it in Tokyo Disney Sea. Oh no, not Tokyo Disney Sea. Disney Studios in Paris. With the theme like Genie is the director of your movie.
Oh.
I like that idea for it.
Yeah.
And Protestant saying that
like I'm coming at it from where from Disneyland, the equivalent to that would be the Astro Orbiter. And honestly, I feel like the Astro Orbiter creates a worse bottleneck than Magic Carpets of Aladdin does. And it's also a less well-mean flat ride. I don't, it's like I feel like Astro Orbiter is very underwhelming. It's like from the original incarnation where it was on top of the People Mover station, it's especially underwhelming.
yeah, I can definitely see the argument of which one would be worse going to Astro Orbiter, for no other reason than what it used to be.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, and honestly, I really don't like that kind of like Da Vinci, like golden, like I feel like the Astro Orbiter design in itself is sort of a remnant of Tomorrowland 98. It's one of the few real visual reminders of Tomorrowland 98, like the same Tomorrowland that painted Space Mountain poop brown.
Yeah, that cause I can't understand how that happened.
You know what I'm hoping, Pi? Astro Orbiter was under construction when I was down there, but they actually, as you know, they took the actual flat ride and removed it. So they must be working on the actual flat ride behind the scenes somewhere. And I'm hoping they change it into a TWA rocket.
That would be interesting.
I mean, because at the very least, that would get rid of like the Tomorrowland 98 quality of that attraction. It wouldn't be perfect. I still wish they'd remove the damn rock work, speaking of that rock work, but at least aesthetically, it'd be a step in the right direction.
Which, speaking of aesthetics and Tomorrowland 98, Pokemon Studio has a theory as to why Space Mountain looks that way. The hippo got to it from the hippo spiral wall. That's where the color came from.
I think on that note, Pi, I think that's a pretty good place to end out on. Do you have any final thoughts?
I think we're good. Buy more hippo merchandise.
All right. Thanks for watching, folks. We will be back. Let's see, Pi. Let's do some housekeeping really quick. Remind me how many rounds are left in the Gaston's Bar Brawl that we haven't talked about yet.
The one going on right now is the last one. I believe it ends Thursday night. So tomorrow night is when it's due.
Okay.
I will be going on spring break and not have a way to do a podcast for about a week and a half. So it might
starting from when?
I'm gonna be leaving late Friday afternoon, like around 4 o'clock on the 15th. And I probably won't be getting back till late on the 19th. No, not 19th.
Okay, well that's
late
good
on
to
the
know.
26th.
I'll probably either do the next one solo or have D Hindley step in if D Hindley wants to do it, maybe on a Monday or a Tuesday or something.
Yeah, which D Hindley would be good because this will be covering the big cursed courtroom.
Exactly. That's true. At the very least, I want to get a podcast out there when we know what the who got cut, who goes ahead. I want to get that reaction out there. So I'll probably have that up sometime this weekend.
All right. And when I'm back, we'll do another regular podcast with whatever projects are going on then.
Yeah. All right, bye. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you guys in the chat, and we will be back. Hopefully D Hindley can join me on the next one. And #Hippo Splatterwall.